Let me read something about why I do what I do on this channel. I've called it the danger of splitting light from darkness. I could subtitle it, and the seeking of wholeness and inner union. Quote, what is denied does not disappear, it waits and it returns. I don't speak of the emotional body, our feeling nature, or the denied darkness within us in order to indulge them, or to glorify them, or to remain endlessly entangled in their shadows. Neither do I bring attention to them with the intention of fixing or forever analysing them. I speak of them because they are so often neglected on the spiritual journey. Too often, seekers want to leap over them, to leap straight into the light. But what is denied does not vanish. What is pushed away does not dissolve. It lingers in the subterranean layers of our being, quietly shaping our perceptions, our reactions, our choices, our very sense of self. If we don't include the denseness and pain of this feeling nature or our emotional body, we are in danger of creating a schism within ourselves. We may know the light, we may taste awakening and speak of freedom, and yet be unable to truly live it. For the unresolved shows up when we least expect it, erupting into our lives, or it manifests as hidden desire, as it has done for many spiritual teachers, leaders, and public figures. This is not just a spiritual issue. It's a profoundly human one that permeates all levels of society. To imagine this doesn't show up on the spiritual path is naive, and to imagine that the spiritual path will somehow resolve everything within us without our conscious engagement is wishful thinking. Not everyone will be called to attend to these places, but many will. And for those who are, the attempt to bypass, to dodge, to spiritually wallpaper over what is happening inside will never bring peace. It may create a temporary high, a convincing image of detachment, but it will not deliver the freedom of being truly at home within yourself. That is why I speak of them. Not to make a shrine to the wound, not to elevate suffering to a throne, but to simply include what has been excluded, to bring into the field of awareness what has been cast into the shadows, to recognize, to allow, to soften around, and ultimately to love the movements of our inner life. The spiritual journey is not about choosing one part of ourselves and discarding the rest. It is not about sculpting ourselves into a version that fits an idea of enlightenment. It is about meeting the entirety of what we are, in its many waves and textures, with a presence so vast, so tender, that nothing is left outside of love's embrace. That's why I do what I do. I don't particularly like getting down into the dirt, getting down into the darkness, but I don't see any other way. Many come from broken, wounded, hurt, troubled, denied backgrounds. They carry the wound and its individualized manifestation throughout life. Many don't look at it, don't get the opportunity, maybe don't have the courage. Maybe the door just doesn't open, nobody knows why. Maybe it's a karmic thing, maybe it's just grace. But unless we embrace the totality of us, and that includes the places that hurt and have hurt for a long time, denied or not denied. Unless we do that somehow, we never really become whole. Becoming whole is not a panacea. It's not a cure-all. It's not a place of detachment where nothing happens and we are rendered immune to the human condition. Far from it. It's the opposite. Become more open to the human condition, more open to the suffering, more open to seeing how division and how ignorance of true nature, how the avoidance of our pain creates such suffering, and how we inflict that upon each other. It opens you up more to that. But somehow in that opening up, because there's been a preparation or a willingness or a meeting with one's own stuff, then there's more capacity to open to the world and its suffering without it triggering us. This biofeedback relationship that we have with the world, when the world's too hot, it triggers us. When we're too hot or troubled or reactive, it triggers the world, because the world and us ultimately are one thing. So that's why I do this. It doesn't really matter whether anybody else does it. Just do what I do. But I do speak to the depth of us, in the hope, in the offering that it supports those who need to dig into the depths of themselves, need to dig into the mud, need to dig into the darkness, not to get stuck there, not to indulge it, but actually to move through it, or to move into something more vast than the tight knots that rule us and the tight knots that have ruled us. Because something has to change on the spiritual path, as that's the nature of the opening, that's the nature of this expansiveness. Eventually everything comes in. As I have talked about before, everything wants to come home. You realize that. On deeper and deeper levels, you realize that everything wants to come home in us. All the unloved bits, all the neglected bits, all the troubled bits, all the angry bits, all the resentful bits, all the wounded bits. They're all us. They're all us. They're all aspects of us that have been constricted or compromised as we go through life, as we have moved through youth. They all want to come home. Otherwise they're just sort of like ghosts lingering there somewhere, in the past. But they're not really in the past, because there is no past. There is no past, there is only this. There is only now. So those ghosts, those denied aspects of ourselves, those wounded, hurt ghosts of us are here now. They're not there then. There then is an idea of the mind. They're here now. And everybody, to a greater or lesser extent, has the capacity to open to this. But you have to be willing. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to face the ghost parts, to face the old parts, and to know through that facing that there's something more to you, that there's a depth to you, that there's a grace to you, that there's an unconditional awareness to you, and that there's a profound love within you that is deeper than the part of you that shrank, or the part of you that feels so grievous. It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter where you've been. In many ways, it doesn't matter what you've done. Obviously, it's harder if you've done some terrible things. But if Buddha had the capacity to forgive, and Jesus had the capacity to forgive, then it's incumbent upon us to have the capacity to forgive. Forgiving is a restoration of integrity. And we would do well to know that. And we would do well to remember that the first place that forgiveness might happen is with ourselves, from a deep integrity, to recognize where we erred, to recognize where our pain became a weapon, and to seek healing for that, not by looking outside us to some God or some fictitious idea of enlightenment or healing, but actually to go deeper into the wound and to understand why we did certain things, and to make deeper and deeper decisions to meet those aspects of ourselves, the wounded, hurt aspects of ourselves, and to embrace them. To embrace ourselves is a great act of love. Bless you.